October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum security, minimum fuss.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. We're back again for some news and reviews. I think I like that. I used it on Instagram and I thought, yeah, it's under the reviews tab on YouTube, but it's definitely news and reviews. So much happens in a day with boxing. I'm sure you guys can agree. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to all of you, and I really appreciate the comments that you guys are putting in on the YouTube videos. It doesn't go unnoticed. I do try my best to answer all of them. That is very important to me. Engagement's important to me because I'm exactly the same as you. I'm a fan of the sport. It means a lot, and it means a lot to be listened to. You guys know a lot more than I do. I see myself as a fan with a camera that's learning about the sport as time goes on. Some of your input that I get in the comments has been really educational, and I appreciate it. I think the last review that we did, because what I needed to do is basically just give you guys your personal thanks and go through some of the comments. The last review that we did, it was entitled Matias Essuman, ranked number 1 with the WBO and the WBA. I don't think the WBA's put it up yet. Imam Khalif, the CAS appeal over the gender row. I went into that because that is extremely techie. I hope I explained it and it made sense, but we'll see what happens with that. I have got alerts, so if anything pops up in the news, I'll be able to report it straight back to you guys. Shout out to Fight Fan Live that says good talk here. Check the rankings once a month. They usually update around that time. And yes, Leo Atang is going to be on the channel. He was the other day, but I couldn't put it out because we both had reception issues. So we're going to try and get that done again, hopefully before he fights on Saturday. Shout out to Tim Sheeran from Australia. It's nice to see that the YouTube channel spreading far and wide. Russell Newton, one of the regulars, says the thing is, I feel sorry for Joe not getting his title shot. It's like keep him active until he loses scenario. Most people lose eventually. And it's a good comment, and it's a fair comment, and it's what do you do with Joe Parker? Do you keep him waiting for, like you said, the fragmentation of the belts, or do you keep him active? He's got to keep active, and I guess he's at a stage, his experience, he can't go in against mediocre opponents. He can't. And we'll get onto that in a moment as we speak about Frank Warren's recent interview with Umar of Box Nation. Very, very good interview. I suggest you go and have a listen to that. There was a lot of key elements in there, a lot of straightforward talking, which I do like from Frank. He just tells it as it is. So go and have a listen to that. Glassy 1979, another one of the regulars. Boxing rankings are an absolute joke based on no logic or merit at all. I like Moses, and I'm sure he'll be at the top of the boxing for years and years, but he hasn't beaten anyone that's top 15 to 20 heavyweight, rated 19th now on BoxRec. I'd say that's even ever so slightly generous. If they want to give him a shot because it generates money and more eyeballs, then fine, but no need to manipulate the rankings to get there. Just be honest instead. And I think I replied to Glassy, you know, meritocracy in boxing. I've vented loads of times about the rankings, and it's not necessarily about rankings now, it's a popularity contest. They are going to push Moses into strategic positions. Queensbury is known for doing that. Whether it's fair or not, you guys can argue in the comments, because there's a to and fro with us. We want him to take his time, but we also want to get him tested, and it's like, you know, which one is it? Oh, he hasn't been hit yet. Is that because he's that quick on his feet, he's not getting hit? You know, we're always looking for a negative side with Moses, which unfortunately for him is quite unfair, but he's just going to keep on going until maybe he eventually suffers a loss and has a comeback and all the rest of it, or he continues being successful in his career. It's not yet written out yet. We're going through the motions with Moses. It's FIHRR, and I think it's bad guy. One of the regulars, lovely. I enjoy reading his comments. There's a reason that the man isn't fighting and refusing those entrance tests. Shame on the ILC for letting a man fight a woman. When all is said and done, that's the bottom line, regardless how he's been brought up. And like I said, it's so technical. I did go into it, but I appreciate your comments as well. You've got to tell me how to pronounce the username. 68DG, shout out to you as well. A member, so you support the channel a lot in more ways than one, so I appreciate that. Parker beat a washed Wilder. I think he lost to Zhang. Bacoli was very short notice. I think Parker beats Wardley if he boxes early and targets the body to wear Wardley out. If it's a shootout, it gives Wardley a route to victory. And yet you're right about that, because Wardley is a natural fighter, isn't he? Parker's been down, Wardley hasn't. I think I discussed this further on in the chat as well. At first, I wasn't sold on it because I didn't appreciate how highly Fabio was ranked. And like I said, I put my hands up for that. But looking at it on paper, looking at where Fabio's going, looking at where Parker's been and wants to go, I think it's a perfect fight. I'm not arguing with that fight at all. In fact, I can't wait for it to happen. I think there's a potential date for that. I'm hearing rumours, whispers around October 25. Parker's put out a musical post again, as he does on his socials, saying there is no news yet, but I'm in camp anyway, I'm staying ready. I've heard that it's practically a done deal, but we'll see. People do gossip, and sometimes, the gossip is false. But in this one, I think there might be a bit of truth in it. Credible sources, I like to say, have been speaking about this one. Parker, and this is from Birmingham Racing, shout out to you. Parker is levels above him when it comes to boxing skills and solid chin. We had a little bit of a debate about that in the chat, and I won't go into all of the replies, but it's there. You guys can go back and listen to that. So, the latest, I guess, we can start off with World Boxing Championships are underway in Liverpool. The inaugural World Boxing Championships, featuring both men and women's competitions, which we know that's the one that Imran Khalif is excluded from due to this case, in the same event, have officially kicked off in Liverpool, and it's going to be from September the 4th, which I think is today, if I remember. September the 4th to the 14th, the largest Olympic-style boxing event ever hosted in the UK, with over 540 boxers from more than 66 countries competing across 10 weight classes, each for men and women. I think the European Broadcasting Union, EBU, is streaming the action globally via Eurovision Sport. You know what? I thought Queensbury were involved in this, but I was probably wrong. You might be interested in this one. Jaime Munguia cleared of doping charges. Mexican standout Jaime Munguia has been officially cleared of all performance-enhancing drug allegations after an extensive investigation by the British Boxing Board of Control and UK anti-doping tests determined that the initial A and B sample, which, as we know, they're the same sample split into two, positives were false positives and caused by an accidental contamination with a legal substance. Munguia's May 3rd victory 2025 in Riyadh remains valid, and he's aiming for a return before the year ends. I'm expecting the comments to go mental about this. What we've got here, and it's not about Jaime Munguia, it's about the testing standards. Now, of course, you get when people test positive, they deny it. Obviously, they're not going to admit to taking performance-enhancing drugs when they're banned. And that's why they have this like strict liability, allegedly strict liability. If it's positive, you did it. You can provide mitigating circumstances. However, that substance is in your system according to the samples that we took from you at the relevant times, etc., etc. Okay? But what we're having at the moment is these false positives. The word contamination is coming up a lot. Now, this is by the British Boxing Board of Control and UK anti-doping, all right, because they're involved in the Riyadh fights, the majority of them. So what's the issue here? Who is the one that's always saying, boxers are tested positive? Is there an issue with that testing company? These tests are extremely expensive. Now, for that cost that is paid to get the blood, urine, whatever tested, it needs to be exemplary. There is no room for flaws. There is no room for cross-contamination. And this is something that keeps on happening with these systems. People's reputations are getting ruined. You guys in the comments might say, oh yeah, cover up. Oh, I don't believe this. I get it. But we keep on hearing the same story. So are the testing agencies, expensive testing agencies, are they even fit for purpose? Go alongside UCAD, go alongside VADA. They've even got different drugs. So you can test positive for one drug that's illegal, and you can test positive for that same drug and it's not. They're not even working in unison with each other. Unless the lists have been updated and I stand corrected, but I've been through it because there were differences when I looked into it. This is something that really needs to be done properly. It's very expensive. There's reputational damage, hence career ending. Unless you've got a lot of money behind you and a lot of support behind you, you're finished. So, food for thought. That's my opinion on it. If I'm paying for a service, it has to be premium. It has to be accurate. Because if I prove you wrong, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And that's the way I see it. But you guys let me know what you think. Right, we've got, as you know, we've got Canelo versus Crawford. I've been having a look online, having a look at those two. They've done a sit-down conversation together where I think they were talking about the amount of kids that they've got. I think Crawford mentioned that he'd probably have more children, etc., etc. So I like these behind-the-scenes, not so behind-the-scenes kind of media that they're putting to the forefront, where they're showing different sides to the fighters. I've always said UFC did it best. They did it first. They always had this like backstory leading up to the fights, and it got you invested in the fighters. And I think they're starting to do that with boxing, especially as Crawford, someone that's remained behind the scenes, has been deemed, I think it was top ranked, that is not really promotable or sellable, or he's kind of like put on the rubbish heap. But now that he's joined up with His Excellency, obviously we've got Dana White, it's TKO, isn't it? It's their first promo. They're putting him out there, but the first promoter that did put Crawford out there was Eddie Hearn when he fought Israel Madrimov. They got Crawford involved in the darts. We got to know a funny side. The cameras were there filming both Crawford and Hearns, back and forth. It was good TV. We like that. So obviously those guys have picked up on that, carried on with that, and we're getting to see a nice picture of both fighters, Canelo and Crawford. So it's a highly anticipated clash, isn't it? I think we're about a week away now, September the 13th in Las Vegas. It's streamed on Netflix. So, you know me, I'm pro Netflix. I always have been. I've been a subscriber to Netflix for the longest. I think I started off paying, did I start off paying $7.99, $6.99 about 1,000 years ago? And now I think it's about 18 quid, whatever. I'm getting good value for money. With the programs that they put on there, some of the reruns they put on there, the films that they put on there, and now they've introduced boxing into that as well. I'm all for it, because it's not pay-per-view, is it? It's not an extra fee. It's going to be about 4 a.m. for the main event. I am tempted to do a live watch along for that. I might struggle. I'll watch the fight regardless. It's whether I can be bothered to go all the way downstairs, set up and start screaming at my computer when the family's asleep. That's the debate. I don't know. We'll see. But I might. Eubank Jr versus Conor, Benn II undercard as well. Allegedly, it's been confirmed. And I keep saying this because we've had a couple of dates, haven't we? November the 15th, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's coming via TalkSport. That's the source for that. The undercard is shaping up with potentially Jack Catterall, Catterall vs Essuman, and the rematch between Gavin Gwynn and Cameron Vong. Discussions are underway. It's not confirmed. So before we go anywhere else, we mentioned Jack Catterall in there. A shock to me as I was up in the gym merely a few weeks ago, speaking to the fighters in the gym, Moss Side Fire Station. And Jack Catterall was there. You know, he was being interviewed at the time, so I left. I'd got the content that I wanted. Didn't see that there'd be any issue, so I thought, yeah, I can catch up with Jack. He probably didn't even want to speak to anyone anyway. He's popped in and the cameras are there in his face. So I'm browsing X as I'm looking for, you know, some content for you guys. And then I see the statement from him on his X account. It's probably on Instagram as well. But Jack El Gato Catterall. This is his statement yesterday. It is with a heavy heart I've decided to part ways with my coaches and, more importantly, my best friends, Jaime and Nigel. I can't put it into words how much I owe them both for the last 9 years. But I'll be forever grateful to them both for not only the time they've put into me, but for the friendship that will last a lifetime. We've shared some amazing nights together. We've managed to headline Manchester 3 times, and that's something that will stay in my heart forever. I now move on to a new chapter in my life and career. News will be dropping soon on my next move. Jack Catterall. I was mortified. I mean, let me know in the comments what you think. And I think sometimes this will be the death of me because, loyalty. It's a word that I've often battled with. It's a word that's often done me no favours in my life, but there's that morality inside of me that says, keep going. We can get through this. Now, in your career, you know, he's called Nigel and Travis his friends. So that goes beyond a professional relationship. Jack Catterall's got a short career. Like he said, he's been with those guys for 9 years. That's a substantial amount of time that you've spent in boxing. You know, the punches that you take, the injuries that you get, the camps that you go through, the fights that you're involved in, all of it. And that's not even including the psychological side that comes in hand with boxing. He's had to sit there and think, I want to keep winning, or I want to win again. I feel like I need to change. And I feel like part of that change is who is telling me what to do, who is guiding me when I'm fighting. Now, when you invest in someone, and you've got to think about it, the trainers get a percentage, don't they? I don't know the exact fee. You guys can elaborate. Everyone holds their cards quite close to their chest when it comes to percentages. I know with the top fighters, they get a capped fee rather than a percentage. But you think the amount of times that, say, your purse is potentially, it's a low pay, you're not yet made it, you're working your way up the ranks. That coach is in the gym before you get there and after you've gone. tireless amount of hours, time. You know, I spoke to Nigel Travis. He said his family's got put on the back burner because of the time that he's invested in the gym with the fighters and the amateurs, not just the pros, because he wants them to make something of themselves. He wants them to keep out of trouble. 9 years is an extremely long time. You've got to remember that Jack Catterall put on an awesome performance in Glasgow at the Hydro against Josh Taylor for those belts. And he fell short, and the fight was never going to be what it was. He won that fight, but he lost on the night. He won that fight because of the game plan. Jamie Moore was up against Ben Davison, who had Josh Taylor at the time. I enjoyed that fight. I like watching boxing. So it was a bit of a shock to me to hear that he's leaving. But it's his choice. You know, when I posted it, I reposted it on my IG. And I was saying, I wonder where he's going to go now. Cameron Vaughn recently left that gym and he's gone to Ben Davison. Is Jack Catterall going to end up going to Ben Davison as well? I don't know. Because he's not retiring, is he? So he's going to go somewhere. And I commented, catch-22 situation in most circumstances. It's the fighter's career at the end of the day. But can you teach an old dog new tricks? And I'm saying old dog because he's 9 years. 9 years with a coaching style. 9 years a certain boxing style. So when I say an old dog, I'm not meaning he's past it. You know the saying. Can you, in boxing, 9 years, develop, invest, make someone better? And I ended it with the proof they say is in the pudding, and I hope it tastes good. Let me know what you think on that. I'm nervous because I don't like stuff like that, but it's down to the fighter. I feel sorry for Nigel and Jamie because I know the effort that they put in with their fighters. But it's heartbreaking. And I guess it was heartbreaking for them to finally say goodbye. Look, it's down to them. Put it in the comments. Let me know what you think, because I could drone on about this stuff for ages. And I'm going to continue to speak about the Frank Warren conversation that he had with Umar from Box Nation. And it was an enjoyable interview. Like I said, please go and watch it. I like what he said about Daniel Dubois. And let me see if I can get it up. Let me just mute it to make sure I don't get copywritten. I wonder if you can get the transcript on this. I'm not sure if you can. Usually you can get the transcript. Let me go to the timestamp. Umar's very good with timestamping. Meeting with Dubois. Let's have a listen.
Various times you're out of action, you're catching up with a lot of your fighters, which you've done a couple of meetings today. You did come in for a meeting last week, though, with Daniel Dubois and Sam Joe. Just tell me about that meeting. What was discussed, Frank, with Daniel?
Well, it was a private meeting between him, Daniel, his father was here, and Sam Jones, as you say, was here, and George. My son George is the CEO. So we sat down and we discussed the previous fight. We talked about things moving forward.
What did you make of the split between him and Don Charles, Frank?
I think it's regrettable, but again, that's their choice. I got my views on it, but that's their choice.
See, I'm with Frank Warren on that, so we'll say credit to Umar from Box Nation and Frank Warren for that. I'm with Frank Warren. He said exactly how I feel. He's not a fan of people changing trainers, but at the end of the day, it's their choice. Let's see how he matches from his body language, and I'll ask him about this when I speak to him. He might tell me to get lost, but I'm going to ask him anyway, because his body language looks as if he's extremely uncomfortable with the decision that's been made. You know, he's basically got Daniel when he was a young age, grown him into the fighter that he is. Obviously, you know, Daniel's been through a few trainers, but he seemed to have settled with Don Charles. Yeah, it was a bit, we're not sure about Don Charles when he first had him for the Usyk 1 fight. Yeah, that was, I think, the first time Don Charles had him as a trainer, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they were a bit iffy around him then, but they grew to like him, including, obviously, Frank. So now that we're getting him, all of a sudden it's like Kieran Farrell, yeah, I've parted ways, of, you know, the typical corporate, yeah, thanks for everything, I'm off speech went up. And then we get the picture with Sam Jones, and I'm like, oh, Don Charles is next. I've said it several times. Even though I'd spoke to Don Charles, I think like a week or so previous, and he was like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still his trainer. But I still thought something was wrong. That's why I asked the question. You can go back and watch the conversation that I had with Don Charles. And then all of a sudden, now Don Charles has gone. The rumours are, and it was from Danny from Fight Fan TV, to shout out to him. He was the first one that put it out there that, you know, Daniel Dubois is allegedly in the Sims's gym. Nothing's been confirmed. And at the end of the day, that is a Matchroom gym. One of my subscribers and listeners, Emma Willie, says, look, you've got, I think it's Ramtin Musa. Apologies if I've got the name wrong, which I know I have. So apologies for that. He's also a Queensbury fighter, but trains out of there, etc., etc. I don't know. It's a key heavyweight. So I think it's a gym, but it's still a key Queensbury heavyweight. So let's see what Frank does with Daniel Dubois now. Can I be honest with you? See, the thing is with me, I'm letting you into strategy and probably how I think, and probably why I couldn't be a promoter. Because if a fighter, if I'd helped him, he'd lost, everyone writ him off, and I stood up for him, and I got him back to winning ways. He eventually, you know, got the email champion, and then he beat Anthony Joshua. So, you know, you can say he won the belt outright. If I'd done all of that, made you millions, and then you start making decisions without consulting me, whether I'm your promoter or not, there's a loyalty there, you know. And I'd say the same thing about Eddie Hearn as well. You know what I'd do? And this is, like I said, this is the wickedness in me. I'll potentially put him in with a rising star that's tipped to beat him. And we all know what I'm talking about. Moses Ituama. Because you should never bite the hand that feeds you. But that's just me. I'm petty. I don't know. Maybe that's a Libra thing. Maybe that's a female thing. Don't get all upset in the comments. I'm a female. I can say that we can be very petty at times. Very, very spiteful. Very counterpunchy. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I don't like it. But at the end of the day, it's down to the fighter. And let's be honest. Daniel saying, yeah, I made the decision. Yeah, okay, of course you did. Everybody knows that that's not the case. And please feel free to come at me when you see me to say, yes, I did make that. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. So we'll see what happens with that. Let me take a look on X. I think also that came out of that Frank Warren interview as well, is the fact that Moses Ituama is targeted for a return in December. To be fair, I think when I spoke to George Warren, he said he wants him back out by the end of the year. But we've got a date now. And it could be in Manchester. I think Frank Warren likes fights in Manchester. He's been there a few times now. And he seems to have found a home with the Co-op Live. So I'm presuming that's where this is going to be. I really like Moses. I like everything about him. I can't fault the kid. I like his attitude. I like the way he fights. The way he moves around, the fact that he's so young, he demonstrates cognitive intelligence. He's got business acumen. He keeps his family around him. It was brilliant to see his dad the other day. I'm looking forward to seeing how his career shapes out. And even if he's a nasty, evil so-and-so, he really doesn't show it. and there's a little cheekiness in him. You can see that he's got a little bit of cheekiness, a bit of wit, but he's going about his career in the right way. And the thing is with him, because of his power, because of his skill, he doesn't really need to have that, you know, when they talk about, oh, the social media presence, oh, you've got to do this. He ain't got to do much. His following's going to go up because of the skill that he demonstrates in the ring. Not every fighter can do that. He's one of the lucky ones. So yeah, allegedly, December the 13th in Manchester. Definitely looking forward to that. And I'm going to be speaking to Frank Smith this week. And one of the fighters that I wanted to ask him about was Jai Opetaia, because he seemed to have like died a death in the quiet. You know, we had this, you know, all this rage around him. He's beaten this, he's done this, he's done that. And then he's gone quiet. And now allegedly IBF mandatory cruiserweight against Hussein Sin Cara. Purse bids have been cancelled. Matchroom to announce the date and venue shortly. I'd like to see him fight in the UK again, but he might not be. He might be in Australia, but I'd like to see him in the UK. But that's just me being selfish as per usual. Another thing that's a bit shocking, I'm just trying to find the article, and it was Dalton Smith. And this comes from Everything Boxing, so shout out to Darshan Desai once again. Fresh Productions wins Matias Smith purse bid. Fresh Productions, with an offer of $1.9 million, has won the purse bids for Subaru Matias Dalton Smith WBC Super Lightweight Title Mandatory contest and will stage the fight in Puerto Rico. Matchroom bid 1.71 million. Ooh. Interesting that, isn't it? I might have a look into that a little further. So I think, to be fair, that's kind of it really. So we've got the World Boxing Championships, Liverpool, Jaime Munguia cleared, Canelo versus Crawford coming up soon, free, subscription, Netflix, that's it, no pay-per-view. Eubank Jr, Benn, and then obviously we've got that date, which is allegedly November 15th, and some other potential fights. Obviously, like I said, Jack Catterall is one of them versus Echo Essuman. He's made a surprising exit stage left, gone out the back door and left Jaime and Nigel after 9 years of being together. Obviously, we mentioned Moses being back out December. Jai Opetaia, I'm hoping that he fights in the UK. And then Dalton Smith, Matchroom loses the purse bid to a higher bidder that won at $1.9 million, and Eddie put in $1.71 million. Interesting that, isn't it? Obviously, we've got a few cards coming up. I'll go through them as I go along. I will be doing a watch along Saturday night. I'm trying to get some content with some of the fighters on the channel as well, and obviously speak to Frank Smith. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you to it. Shout out to my sponsors, SA UK, Maximum Security, Minimum Fuss. Have a wonderful day, you guys. Speak to you soon. And as we say at October Red, stay ready.
October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum Security, Minimum Fuss.